when we started working on Web3 games, it was very difficult to find a good user experience. There was no account abstraction. You needed to have your own wallet, and it was really outside of the game. So there was a lot of issues to get into the game. I remember a presentation in, I think, 2018 or 19. I think at the time you needed something like 11 or 12 steps to be able to purchase a CryptoKitty.
Yeah, so I'd be out by like step 4, yeah.
Yeah, something like that, yeah, exactly. So now it becomes possible to play a game without knowing that there is Web3 behind it. And I think that the goal of the whole infrastructure technology, it has to disappear behind the experience itself.
Today's guest is Nicolas Pouard, the VP of Ubisoft's Strategic Innovation Lab. Ubisoft is a well-known video game publisher that created Assassin's Creed, Just Dance, a personal favorite of mine, and many other games. It has forayed into the Web3 gaming world, and Nicolas is one of the individuals internally helping kind of guide the publisher to the space. So I'm excited to have him on today and talk more about Web3 gaming, how they're looking at strategy there, and more. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jacquelyn. Thank you. Very happy to be here.
Very happy to have you. To start off, I know you've been in this space for a little while, but can you tell our listeners how you got into the industry, and we could go from there?
Yeah. So maybe a bit reminder about Ubisoft. So as you said, we are a major publisher. So as a major publisher, we of course have a production team working on game development, but also I joined as part of the Strategic Innovation Lab, which was it's changing a bit. But when I joined, it was really a foresight team trying to envision the future of gaming. So we worked on a bunch of new technology, new trends. We explored a lot of stuff. And 2017, I think I met the blockchain.
You met the blockchain, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I fell in love, something like that.
It's the average love story for crypto people, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I heard about, of course, Ethereum at the time, Bitcoin, of course, but for us in the gaming industry, Ethereum was more promising because of the smart contract and the old thing that we could do. So I started working on that as just to make some kind of notes for our CEO. And then, I get through the rabbit hole as a lot of people. And starting from here, we did a lot of stuff. So first explore by ourselves, did a bunch of prototype. Also, we had an incubator at the time in Paris. And so we worked with people like Sky Mavis or Sorare, which are big players right now. We incubated them in our startup program. Then we did some partnership with chains like Flow, Hedera, and others to create some kind of experience on their chains, just to test. The goal was really to try to understand what we could do actually with all of it. And then we did a first public prototype and then a first public product. And now we are launching, we started to launch our first Web3 game, full Web3 game a month ago. And we have other project to come. Maybe we'll have the opportunity to discuss a bit more about all of this during this
100%. Yeah, when it comes to the game that you guys just launched, can you tell me more about that? How has the reaction been? What about it differs from other games?
Yeah. So it's a huge question, actually.
I know. You got a huge answer. Go ahead.
I can develop on that. So there is something first that we didn't understand at the very first time, which was that adding this kind of technology to existing game was a bit confusing for players. Because you are adding a financial layer. We try to avoid like leveraging exactly the financial part of blockchain. We were mostly focused on ownership for players. For us, it was very important that players would have the ability to resell all stuff, all the asset that they purchased when they were playing the game. It's like really like when you are a kid, you purchase toys, and at some point you want to change, you want to go to new games, and so you are trying to resell it on a secondary market. So for us, it was a primary focus. We let the whole token and crypto a part of what we were doing. But it's difficult to think ownership without the financial aspect that comes with it. And that part was not really appreciated by our traditional audience and usual gamers. And you add to that there is actually, when we said gamers, there's a lot of different gamers. So they are not all waiting for the same thing. And being able to understand the expectations of our audience is really part of the core business of a game publisher. On that end, as an innovation lab, sometimes we try and we fail. So our first attempt to put NFT in a AAA game was not well received. There was a lot of backlash.
How so?
Yeah. Oh, well, so it was actually the worst timing ever.
Was it after the NFT hype?
Exactly. just at the moment of the NFT hype, actually.
Right.
And so the hype was around the ape at the time. So I said that was priced at, as you know, more than $100,000. So for gamers, it was really like, even philosophically speaking, I would say it was not aligned with the gaming spirit. The gaming spirit is really democratic in his core, and here with this kind of elite stuff just for a few bunch of people, it was really another mentality. And so for us, it was for our audience, it was another proof that the old gaming industry was turning into a huge financial machine instead of being an industry of dreams and really games for everyone.
So from that point, what made you decide to, take another chance at it instead of just scrapping it and saying, "Hey, our gamers don't care about this"?
Actually, a lot of our competitors did that at the time.
Oh, yeah.
The other big publisher, they I remember, because they were all hiring marketing directors for Web3. It was
and then they weren't. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We were very convinced from the very beginning that it was on the players' benefits to use blockchain features. Again, because of ownership, and coming with ownership, there is also interoperability, which is a big word, especially in the gaming world. It's we will maybe discuss that also further on the road. But so we were very convinced that ownership, interoperability, decentralization were very, very interesting for players to experiment new ways to build games for developers as well. So after this first failure, we learned a lot of stuff about our players, what they were expecting, and we wanted to try again, because we don't give up that easily. First,
I love that, yeah.
and second, because we understood that we needed to start from scratch and build smaller games, not big AAA games. It would not make sense anymore. And try to create full Web3 games. So we've gone as far as we could on that end, because there's different ways to build Web3 games right now. You can do fully on-chain games, which is very difficult because of technical reasons. And you can do in between with NFTs, without tokens, etc. There is a lot of opportunities, and we needed to try to address in terms of design what we could do. There is still plenty of room for exploration here, and we are pretty convinced that there is an audience for that kind of games. But we have to find the right design, the right genre of games.
The perfect potion, right? So where did you land on that front? Like extremely on-chain or integrating blockchain technology, but not like 100% there?
Yeah. So we weren't able to really do fully on-chain games because to do that, we need, I think, more skills in terms of tokenomics and game design.
Right.
We needed to first test really what the NFTs can offer and see how players are taking the lead on that end, because once you build a game around NFTs, around its core assets, you are putting part of the value of the game somewhere, and you say, okay, you, the audience, you will own it, and you will build your own stuff with it. Meaning that for our first game, Champion Tactics, the idea is that we created the first collection of NFTs, and then exactly as we saw on Axie Infinity or at the time CryptoKitties, we put some kind of DNA into the figurines, and players can populate the world as they want based on this first collection. But we are no more in control of the assets of the game. And for a game publisher, especially a traditional one, it's in a way very scary because it's very new. And so you have to understand what kind of behavior the players will have playing with it, how they will handle it, and how we, on our end, we will be able to manage the game, even if we are no more in full control.
Yeah.
So that's the first step. But when you are building a full on-chain game, you are accepting to let go a lot of control, and it's really not the mindset of game designers for now. So that's part of the thing that we want to explore.
Yeah.
And also on the technical side of thing, you can build fully on-chain game right now, but it has to be quite simple game, or you have to do a lot of trade-off in terms of performance and what you can really do. So maybe it's, but for us, it's like a North Star, that the horizon or the compass. We know we are constantly taking keeping an eye on those kind of small ecosystem, and it's like our innovation DNA within an innovation lab.
There we go.
We know that we are far from what we could do.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I guess what would be the time frame for that then, hitting that North Star moment?
There is so many.
There's an optimistic time frame, a pessimistic time frame, right?
Pessimist time, maybe time frame, maybe 10 years. Optimist, maybe 5.
There we go. So 7. No, right in the middle.
Yeah. We can do the math.
You talked about interoperability, and that's obviously a term that is used across the blockchain ecosystem. It could be about connecting chains, but it could also be about connecting games. And I think even that term isn't used in my day-to-day life outside of this industry. And you kept talking about things that, would benefit the gamers. And, you could own this, you could own that. But yet gamers still push back against, I think, a lot of the Web3 gaming. Maybe that's because there's like a negative connotation out there. But I'm curious how you kind of like navigate around that and kind of show them that, hey, this is actually a plus to you guys, that we are giving you more optionality and ability to own your assets in game and other things. Something that a lot of game publishers don't actually do. So how do you approach that? I know.
I think we stay. Sorry.
No, I know. I get
it. We try to stay very humble, actually, because when we started, we were very convinced by what we were doing, and it happened to be totally wrong for players. So now we are very humble. We want to showcase, so it's really show don't tell. We will just show that there is another way to use your in-game assets. There is another way to monetize, which is more fair. We can say that. But in the perception of player, it's just another layer of monetization. And actually, as a lot of disruption, it's not just another layer. It's a completely different system. And you cannot really, you can explain, and people can really understand what it is about, but they can also, in the same time, as they understand the purpose, they can see all the scammy and different bad behavior of certain projects. So on that, we can just say, okay, there is this kind of projects that are not very ethical, but you can also design stuff that are very aligned on your expectation as players. So just showing that we can build games that are based on Web3, but not changing the quality of the game, not adding another monetization layer, allowing players to resell stuff once they decided to stop playing the game, etc., etc. I think it's just showing all the benefits and not just promising things that are not coming. That's just for the basic stuff. For interoperability, it's a bit more complicated, because the idea is really to focus the attention of the players no more on the environment of the game, but on the asset that you are using, and saying to the player, as you can take a photo with an Apple mobile phone and send it to someone using a Google mobile phone, Android one, that could be the same for game assets. And of course, the use cases are rare nowadays. It's difficult to see why I would use, an Assassin's Creed character into a Mario Kart game, for instance. It would not make sense for now. But we are pretty sure that it's part of the brick that we need to go to build some kind of what we used to call last year or 2 years ago metaverse. Nowadays, it's also a forbidden word, but
still tossed out there. But yeah.
but it's still kind of the vision. We are seeing more and more games, especially in the shooter style, that are also building UGC features. And they are using mostly the same engine, mostly Unreal Engine. So at some point, it will make sense to be able to move one asset that you really like to another game. And that's part of the thing where I say maybe we will have to wait 10 years, because also on top of that, you have to find the right business model. And that's really the tricky part, to understand why, as a game developer, I would allow other assets coming from other games within my games. And there is a lot of production issue as well. So it's really a question of how you standardize the whole gaming ecosystem.
Yeah. Do you see a world where this would be across different game publishers? Because I could see it making sense within Ubisoft's games as a whole. I could transfer this gun to another game, but would you transfer it to another game publisher's game? Or
Yeah,
is
but
it kind of
actually-
like, hey,
yeah.
only our games? You don't get to go to their games too and use these
Yeah,
assets,
Yeah, actually, it's just a question of
Like competition exists, but is there more of open dialogue among the game publishers that are, looking into Web3 gaming?
So I was very surprised when during the metaverse buzz, actually, I think Epic, Microsoft, and a bunch of other big players, they gather into some kind of alliance, the Metaverse Alliance, to work on 3D assets standardization. So they see that there is something to dig in here. But just to come back to the question, actually within Ubisoft, there is a competition between the projects.
Oh,
so if
so
we
even
are
internally,
able to,
yeah,
of course, because every producer has its own P&L, his own P&L, and so he has to also, measure and balance the cost of the production of the assets and the revenue he will make from it. So once you start to try to mix everything, it's much more difficult to see to forecast your revenue, etc., etc. And so it's just a question of scale. And so thinking about that between publishers, it's kind of the same, but at the level of at the next level. And in the end, if it's in the players' benefits and if the players see their own benefits in it, it will happen. I'm pretty sure about that.
There we go. How many games inside of Ubisoft system are working on either like solely Web3 games or implementing some blockchain technology into their games?
So we just launched one. We announced a second one coming in a few weeks. And we have plans for a lineup for next year and the year after. So we will have some games using this technology. And as we wanted to stay content creator and not really tech provider, we are working with different chain, which makes the interoperability even more difficult. But that's the challenge, and it's very interesting to be at the heart of the ecosystem and being able to understand how EVM and EVM ecosystem are working, the different aspects of it, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So we have a good lineup coming. We decided to go again strategically in 3 phases, I would say, starting with games that are really the first ones, so really dedicated to Web3 on new IPs. And that's for the first phase. Second phase will be maybe more mainstream, that the objective. So we are working with IPs that are more mainstream to do it. And from this phase 1 and phase 2, we think that we will have learned enough to be able to work on bigger IPs.
And that's what comes in phase 3?
Yeah.
There we go. Amazing. In terms of integrating blockchain technology and then marketing that in a game, I feel like there's 2 sides to the coin. There are publishers that are like, hey, this is a blockchain-based game. You need a wallet. These are in-game assets. And they approach it from a very like Web3 native stance. I think that probably scares off the average gamer. And then there is the other side of the coin where you build a game, take Off the Grid, for example. It, gains traction. They do like a big marketing push, and you don't know it's a crypto game until an article comes out that it is based on top of blockchain technology, right?
And you feel betrayed.
And then someone, even though you enjoyed it, you feel betrayed, right? So which side do you feel more compelled to, or is it neither?
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's benefits to both. But I think from my stance, I'd probably look at it from the way Off the Grid did it, because it's like, listen, if I built a fun game and you enjoyed it, why do you need to know that it was built on blockchains? Yeah, I guess the betrayal aspect. I don't know.
So for me, it's really a question of where we are in the development cycle of the whole technology. when we started working on Web3 games, it was very difficult to find a good user experience. There was no account abstraction. You needed to have your own wallet, and it was really outside of the game. So there was a lot of issues to get into the game. I remember a presentation in, I think, 2018 or 19. I think at the time you needed something like 11 or 12 steps to be able to purchase a CryptoKitty.
Yeah, so I'd be out by like step 4. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, exactly. So no, it becomes possible. It becomes possible to play a game without knowing that there is Web3 behind it. And I think that the goal of the whole infrastructure technology, it has to disappear behind the experience itself.
Yeah.
But the problem is that for nowadays where we are, it's difficult to explain what blockchain features are. If you don't explain that it's on blockchain. Just being able to find the right design, the right UX to make the players understand what they can do with this specific asset and not this one, without saying that it's on blockchain. I think that's part of the challenge that we are facing right now. And Off the Grid is trying to solve it in their own way. The other thing is that when we started Web3 games, it was during not always, but the momentum was around a bull market. So it was like easy to target a Web3 audience. There was enough players, or we thought at the time that there would be enough players. And we also hoped that they were able to monetize on more than usual players. So it was like obvious that Web3 games were meant to target Web3 users and crypto enthusiasts. But the bear market came. And so all the Web3 games needed new revenue stream. So that's where the narrative started to shift and say, oh, okay, we need to build games for everyone. But once you've done that, you are no more in your very small niche and innovative stuff. You are in the big swimming pool with all the other, or the ocean. You are in the ocean with all the other fishes and sharks. And so you have to play at the same with the same rules, which is first building, as you put it, a good game. That's really the first principle. Build a good game, which is per se very difficult.
Yeah.
Then
100%.
You have to market it. Very difficult to exist in this world, in this industry today. Discoverability is one of the issues of all the traditional games. If you are not a big publisher, you have to fight to exist. If you are on mobile, it's even more chaotic. It's a jungle, even more difficult to exist. If you are on PC, you have to go through Steam, and that's the only way, otherwise you don't exist. And even on Steam, there is like two stage. Most of the game don't go to the first stage of best. I would say in the first rank of the wishing list of Steam. And on console, it's very difficult to exist as well. So if you are building Web3 games, you are in the position of an indie game developer, and you have to exist in this big ocean. So how you do it without saying, hey, by the way, I'm doing blockchain and I'm doing Web3. So with that, you are expecting that you will take your niche with you. They will bootstrap your whole community, and then you will be able to exist. So I don't have an answer for that. The only thing is more, okay, for now, what we can say is we want to build good games. Okay. Web3 is adding some features to what a game is usually providing to players. And those features are not enough to make a market per se. So it's more like additional, and it has to be able to be differentiating enough to exist amongst all those very, very good Web2 games.
Yeah.
So no, it's not an easy equation to solve, actually.
Yeah. Hey, your answer, your no answer was an answer, though. It made sense to me when you explained it. Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. You mentioned like the differences between bull market, bear market, etc. I would argue we are in a bull market. You know, prices are up, things are going well. How do you look at strategy today for Ubisoft compared to, you know, even last cycle or the bear market? Like, what is your strategy today to really like drive this forward?
So we, from the very beginning, as Ubisoft and as a public company listed on the stock market, we don't want to be too close to the crypto market itself. So we are not bound to it. We don't have a token. So for us, that's good because it's given more visibility to the whole blockchain world. We are happy for our partners because they are benefiting from this bull market. And our end, it's I think it's a good time because there was a lot of people who thought that we were working on something that was meant to end at some point, and we are just saying, hey, you can see what we were telling you for years. The bull market is still is here again. There will be new people that will be able to invest in Web3 gaming, new players as well. So for us, it's good news. It's putting us in a good situation, in a good mood, but that's all.
But does it keep your strategy? Like, I guess, does your strategy stay the same regardless of like bull or bear market? You kind of just say like, whatever. We don't watch the prices. We're just going to build.
Exactly.
And if it comes out during the bull market, that's good for us. And then if it comes out at the end of the NFT boom, you know, right? Yeah.
No, and the NFT narrative is behind us. No, there is new narrative, so we are less in the spotlight. We can build and build and build, and that's really our spirit here, our mindset.
100%. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Ubisoft is also based in France. I believe I said that at the beginning, but obviously video games are global. When it comes to regional differences, how do you kind of approach that from a Web3 gaming standpoint? I feel like I've spent some time in Korea and Japan, and they have a huge obsession with gaming over there. I would almost argue more so than my fellow Americans. But what is your like take on all that? How do you look at it from a regional view?
So here there is also two answers. I would say there is the answer with the audience perspective, and an answer with the regulative perspective. In terms of regulation, it's interesting to see that US is kind of open, but the audience is not really into Web3 gaming right now. They are looking at it. There is American players, but it's not a craziness as it could have been because of the SEC, I think, is really threatening everyone. So people are very cautious with Web3 gaming. In Europe, there is for me, I think, the way I see it is like the audience is disregarding Web3 games because of a very, very, very cultural stuff, which is the difference between work and game. It's coming from the Greek, the old Greek. Work is to earn money, is to earn and to make a living, and playing, it's entertainment, it's leisure, and you should not make a living from pressure. So there is a big disconnect between work and game. And in Europe, I think it will stay that way, and the regulation around that doesn't really help for the industry to grow as much as it could. In Asia, it's very different, as you said. Same perspective as yours, same point of view. Korea, Japan, and South Asia, they are all very, very into gaming first, but also Web3 gaming. But same, regulation is not really here yet. For instance, I think in Korea, there is so many developers working on Web3 right now, but they cannot really launch their game in Korea, so they have to launch globally. But they cannot really target any specific country. So in terms of business, it's really difficult to find the proper way to find your audience right now. Even if we know that there is the Web3 games are very well accepted, could be well accepted in Asia. So as Ubisoft, our main and core audience is in the US and Europe. So for us, it's pushing us to try to also develop new marketing strategy in Asia through partnerships, through new also new channels, I think.
Interesting, yeah. I didn't even think about the regulatory factor in regards to video games, but I guess it affects.
It's a hell. It's really difficult.
Even now,
because it's meeting the Web3 regulation. It's encountering the gaming regulation, and there is also a lot of rules to be sure that games are fair for players, that it's not addictive, that there is a protection of the audience in terms of money laundering. Also, of course, there is a very big issue around loot boxes and stuff like that. That are really sensitive topic. As big publisher, we have a big responsibility around that. There is a lot of things happening around the world on those topics, and adding Web3 to the discussions, it's adding a layer of complexity that is very difficult to handle. It's a gray area for now in Europe. In France especially, we try to find a way to find a legal framework in which we can develop games thanks to Sorare, for especially, not only, but they were really pushing the authority on that end. In the US, as usual, it's a bit more open when it comes to innovation, but the SEC, it's still here. So for a gaming project that are willing to launch a token, makes it very difficult. So they go through the foundation stuff in the Virgin Islands, etc. Maybe I should not say that in the podcast, but everyone.
No, I know what you're referencing. Yeah.
In Asia, it's a bit blurry. Japan and Korea, it's not forbidden, but the terms are a bit complicated to handle if you are not in the country directly. So
Yeah. I guess the tokenomics part of Web3 gaming really does play a factor in that. I was thinking more of like, speed from blockchains or in-game assets, but even then, the word assets, who knows?
But in-game assets, that's a question that you said NFTs. So NFTs, we know that it's a new class of assets. We are saying it all the time. And in games, we are willing to use it really. It's really commoditized. We want to use it everywhere, or we could use it everywhere. But because of the regulation, the NFTs are not financial assets, but they could be, depending on how you designed it. If you are, for instance, if you are creating, 10,000 sword, but exactly the same sword in a fantasy game, then it can be a money. Even if it's an in-game asset, the fact that they are all the same, it's like it could be a currency. If you are doing unique assets, then all the different swords, it's no more a currency because they are all different. But as they are all different, you are adding scarcity in your design. If you are adding scarcity in your design, then there will be different valuation of your sword. Then it's starting to become to look like a speculative asset. So again, you are trapped.
You are trapped. That's a good way to end that quote. Oh man. One final question I want to ask you as we wrap up the year. You're probably looking towards 2025. I'm curious, what would have to happen internally at your company for you to feel like it was a successful year, moving into this space? Obviously, you're launching games, right?
Exactly. So one of them has to be very successful, and it will be a success.
All right.
Very easy.
Well, let's count on that. Last major thing, can you leave us with a piece of advice, something that you've carried with you throughout your time in the blockchain world?
I don't know if it's an advice, but it's more like a very strong interest that I have these days. It's really the intersection of blockchain, AI, and games, obviously, and especially there is some very, very interesting stuff that are trying to link all those things together in very interesting sandbox like Roblox, for instance. So, for instance, the platform virtual.ai, they are doing very, very interesting stuff that are, again, also for us, it can be a vision of a future where there is some kind of autonomous agent on a full decentralized game, just living their life, a digital life. And there is a lot of things to build around just this. It's not that easy, but it's not that complicated either. So there is a room to explore as well.
The advice is to build new things. Amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Always.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.